Have you ever been to New Hampshire, or at least seen pictures of it? It seems like a pretty nice place, right? But according to Bill Maher, in this bizarre rant, it has a serious problem, which is that there are too many white people in it. Yeah. That's right, I am just as confused as you are, but I'm Vince for Resist the Mainstream. If you enjoy our content, please do us a big favor by hitting that subscribe button down below. Why should you subscribe? Because your subscription goes a long way in ensuring we can keep bringing you videos like this, so go hit that red button. And with that said, let's get into this.
People want to know these questions that they write in. Okay, this is for Governor Sununu. What do you make of Biden's decision to make South Carolina the first Democratic primary? Say, right, now you're governor of New Hampshire. That was always and still is the Republican first.
No, and the Democrat. I'm sorry, Joe, we're going first. I don't care what the Democrat Party doesn't dictate who goes first. The state of New Hampshire does.
No, but they're not saying that. The Democrat changed theirs.
No, they didn't.
They did.
So the Democrats tried, but New Hampshire's Democrat primary will still go first. Because, again, our law says we're going to go first. And this is Biden's real problem because he's left a huge opening for someone to come into New Hampshire, campaign there strong with some name ID, and charge through, essentially. By the way, South Carolina doesn't have a first-in-the-nation primary. They dictate. Trump didn't have one in 20. They just said Trump's the winner. So Biden has effectively moved the first in the nation, tried to move it from New Hampshire to a state that won't even hold it. They'll just say, you're the incumbent, you're the winner. So it's actually a horrible miscalculation on his part. Okay. But I'm sorry, Joe, we're going first.
Well, okay, now, now you announced on our show tonight that you're running for president.
I know, well... Again,
so you see immediately right out of the gate, Bill Maher is hating on the state of New Hampshire for some odd reason. I don't know what New Hampshire ever did to you, but you'll hear the real reason why in a second. But if you're unfamiliar with the entire situation, basically, Democrats moved their first primary out of New Hampshire, right? Historically, Iowa has the first caucus, New Hampshire has the first primary, but they moved it to South Carolina specifically because, in their own words, essentially, New Hampshire is not diverse enough. New Hampshire has too many white people, and yes, this is true. You can research this. The Democrats changed their entire primary process to screw with the state because it was too white. All right, that said, let's get back into this.
Now, for you, Lieutenant Governor Sears, what's a realistic way to approach immigration reform?
Heavens, how about doing it the right way and doing it the legal way? I mean, my dad had to wait in line, wait his turn, sign all kinds of documents, prove who he was. I mean, you got to know who's coming into the country. We are a nation of laws, and if he had to do it, everybody's got to do it. That's the law. I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, don't apologize. That's the right answer. You nailed it.
Oh, no, I'm not apologizing.
Okay. Governor Sununu, should we be doing more to secure our northern border to prevent to prevent the trafficking of drugs?
Yeah. And Canadians.
What?
And Canadians. They're very dangerous.
So northern border crossings up 800%. Yeah.
800%?
Hundreds of thousands in just the last quarter from Canada. Yeah, so we're doing kind of our part. A lot of the states are open. It's a very unprotected border, but it's nothing like the southern border, of course. But yeah, you have to protect the northern border as well. Canada has agreements with about 5 different countries. You don't even need visas. I think Honduras, El Salvador, they fly to Canada and then they walk across. We have them walking across through the woods in New Hampshire.
No, of course.
Our longest.
Okay, so that's interesting. It's almost like the point that Chris Sununu is trying to make is that actually New Hampshire may be seen as an irrelevant state. The Democrats don't even need to do a primary there. But it turns out some of those places with quote unquote too many white people do actually deal with issues that are important to this country. Like, yeah, New Hampshire does actually matter. The people who live in the state matter, and that's very important to consider as you hear what Bill Maher is about to say right here.
Salvador, they fly to Canada and then they walk across. We have them walking across through the woods in New Hampshire.
Now, of course,
our longest border is with Canada.
Yeah.
Another critique of your state as a primary state is that it's not diverse, so it doesn't really look like America.
We have the highest voter turnout in the country. South Carolina's diversity, look, South Carolina has about 15% voter turnout. What's the point of diversity if you don't let anybody vote, if nobody comes out to participate? We have rich, we have poor, we have black, we have white. It doesn't matter. Everyone in New Hampshire participates in the process.
Well, I mean...
I'll put my diversity against South Carolina's any day when you actually look at who's actually voting and participating.
The only black you have there is a bear. I it's a very white state. No.
Oh, sure, of course.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But I'm just saying, but that's.
But isn't it about who participates? Isn't it about actually having a primary? Like I said, the Democrats likely aren't even going to hold the primary in South Carolina. So what's the point of diversity if you don't let people participate? I mean, they say that we subvert the vote by asking people for an ID. They subvert the vote by not even letting them show up. I mean, that's the reality you're facing here. So that's why we're the best at the first of the nation primary. The high voter participation, the voter turnout, local control. And here's the most important part.
I can't help you, Bill.
I'm
not following this argument, but
I'm
go
from
ahead.
Massachusetts.
You're not following this argument, Bill? Well, let me put it into much simpler terms. It's the whitest state in the country. Okay, so what? Oh, but we need diversity. Isn't it very funny how that only goes one way? Because imagine saying we can't do the primary in Arizona, for instance, or California because there are too many Hispanics there. Or even in the case of South Carolina, imagine saying we can't do the South Carolina primary because there are too many black people there. Literally. Because you want to talk so much about diversity, but the actual reality is South Carolina, yes, overall is a diverse state. But when it comes to that famous South Carolina Democrat primary, you know what the electorate is there? It is overwhelmingly black voters who show up in that primary. And when you consider kind of the population distribution of that state and that it's a Republican state, that basically makes sense. I'm not going to get into that, but I don't hear anyone saying about the South Carolina primary, hey, where are the white people? Or where are the non-black people in the South Carolina Democrat primary? Of course, this whole thing only goes one way.
I'm not following this argument, but
I'm
go
from
ahead.
Massachusetts. I'm from Massachusetts, and we used to refer to New Hampshire as Kentucky and New England. So that's
Really? Wow, that's not nice.
Coming from Massachusetts, right? Coming from Massachusetts, give me a break. Why is New Hampshire the fastest growing state in the Northeast?
That's
Come on.
not fair. That's not
Come on.
fair.
I didn't say I agreed with it. It's just, that was what we used to say.
Andy Bashir is now texting me. Governor Bashir is texting me, figuring out what that comment meant.
Speaking of peak Caucasian.
Yeah, because the state of Massachusetts is so historically and famously racially diverse. Look, I don't even understand what kind of argument that is. But again here, folks, how could something in modern America possibly be more racist than Democrats moving an election out of a state because they say that state is too white? I mean, that is the argument. Oh, it's not diverse enough. It doesn't look like America enough. Okay, so your point is, it's too white. And as you heard there, Chris Sununu tried to defend his state from a number of different angles. I personally find the racial argument by Democrats in itself to be so ridiculous, but he also brought up something very important, which is New Hampshire also has one of the highest voter participation rates in the entire country, which means that a lot of people in that state actually show up to participate in that primary. Democrats constantly claim to be the party of democracy, right? They claim this is so important, and yet not only did they move out of a state because, oh, they're anti-racist, so we got to be racist towards the white people, but they're so pro-democracy that they moved away from one of the most democratic, in terms of like participating in democracy, one of the most democratically engaged states in the country, to a state with very low voter participation. Because why exactly? Yeah, it's almost like that whole democracy talking point is only an excuse for democracy means when Democrats win, right? Democracy means protecting ourselves in power no matter what. Who cares if it's actually democratic? With that said, though, let me know your thoughts on this segment in the comment section down below. And until next time, I've been Vince with RTM. Peace.